Example 8.4.2. In part A, on the same diagram, we are sketching two curves. One of them a cubic and the other one a reciprocal graph. Let's do them in the order that they appear in the question. I'm going to draw the cubic first. I've already got my axes, and thinking ahead to the reciprocal graph, they're going to be asymptotes on the y and x axes, so I've drawn them in already. Make sure when they're on the x-axis that your asymptotes a little bit thicker, so the pen or pencil a little bit thicker than the axis itself, so you can actually see them. So what I've drawn here is fine. Somebody marking this can clearly see that there are a couple of asymptotes there. So maybe pause the video for a moment, get your axes drawn. Right, so the cubic already fully factorized, which helps us figure out the roots. The roots are the points where it crosses the x-axis. And if I did expand the brackets, I'd get a positive x cubed. So this has the shape of a positive cubic, which generally have a shape like that, with a maximum and a minimum. Sometimes doesn't have a maximum and minimum, sometimes just has a point of inflection with one of those two shapes. Fully factorized, so I can see a repeated root when x is 0. And the other root will be when the other factor, which we can see because it's fully factorized, is 3x take 0. When that other factor is 0, so the other root will be x is a over 3. We've been told in the question that a and b are positive constants, so therefore a over 3 will be positive. So I can sketch my graph now. A repeated root when x is 0, so there'll be a turning point when x is 0, and then it goes through the x-axis at a over 3, which I don't know where that'll be, but I do know it will be positive. So here's the shape. Turning point when x is 0, and then going through the x-axis at some positive number, which we need to label. Always label any crossings of the axes. And there we have the cubic graph. Now the reciprocal graph. So the reciprocal graph, y equals b over x, that shape of it depends on whether b is positive or negative. Well, we've been told b is positive, so the shape of this graph, because b is positive, will be in the top right hand corner and the lower left hand corner. It's just a standard reciprocal graph. So that's part A done. I just need to label the b over x graph. So part B, state given a reason the number of real solutions to this equation. Well, it's similar to example 8.4.1. So let's start with the equation itself. And we see it does look a lot like the two graphs we've drawn. If we add b over x to both sides, then we get one graph on one side of this equation and the other graph on the other side, which tells us that if we drew each graph and counted how many times they intersect, that will tell us the number of solutions to the equation in part B. We can see from the graphs these two graphs intersect twice, so there will be two real solutions. And the question clearly said giving a reason. If we don't do that, we will not get full marks. There's the reason, because the graphs intersect twice. For that reason, there will be two real solutions.